Cheers.
And so, with that, we have now an exciting time to catch up with our good friend Barry. How are you doing, Barry? How's it going?
Very well, thanks. And how are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. And we're excited to have this exclusive interview with Barry from TruTag, and again Jackie Kent from Medidata, the leaders in clinical trial software around the world, from Dassault Systems, and Timothy Aungst from the Massachusetts College of Pharmacy. Thank you all for joining, and really looking forward to the conversation. Barry, let's start just as an introduction. If you could talk a little bit about, and again, we talk about digital health adoption and how important it is, but tell us a little bit about TruTag and what you guys do.
Yeah, so Stan, TruTag is a company that is involved in smart medicine solutions. So our goal on an industry level is to mass digitize pharmaceuticals. So we are looking to essentially put targets directly onto medicines, onto tablets, and onto capsules. And those targets then are, you're able to sense those targets with a particular sensor. And in doing that, you're essentially able to digitize the tablet itself. And in that process, every dose of medicine, whether it's a capsule or a tablet, becomes a data point. So our goal as a company is really to, is to bring that digitization directly to medicines, and in doing that, drive value throughout the pharmaceutical value chain.
That's fantastic. And do you have something you can show us about how TruTag works?
Yeah, I do indeed. Yeah, I absolutely do. I have some slideware that we can talk through and give you a little bit of visualization of what we're looking to do. But I'll obviously keep in keeping with the forum. I'll keep this as casual as possible. So to start, really, I'd like to introduce the concept of what a smart medicine is. And essentially, as I alluded to there, a smart medicine is a tablet and a capsule that has been digitized. And that means that it's got a digital identity. It's something that hasn't had a digital identity before, and that you put a target directly onto that medicine. That target can be that target is incorporated onto the medicine and then is sensed by a particular detector. In the pharmaceutical space, the two key technologies utilized today in smart medicines are radio frequency targets and spectral targets. And with both of those technologies, you incorporate them onto the medicine directly, and then you have a particular sensing device. That sensing device picks up on that signature, whether it's a radio frequency or a spectral signature. It records that action, and then that process is then digitally stored in a backend. And I guess the best way of illustrating this is by showing you a sort of a demo. I'll attempt to do this demo live, and I'll say attempt because what could go wrong with a live demo with a few hundred people. So hopefully you are able to, everybody is able to see a phone in front of them at the moment. Now, what I'm demonstrating here is the second category of smart medicine solutions. So this is a smart medicine solution that is utilizing a spectral signature. And hopefully now you'll be able to see in front of you right now, there will be two sets of tablets, and these tablets are very much unremarkable. They are just a typical placebo, but what has been done here is within the coating of this tablet, the standard coating, there has been spectral signatures, spectrally encoded microparticles with a distinct spectral signature incorporated into the coating of these tablets. And when you open up a specific application on the cell phone, this application will essentially shine white light at these tablets, and then it will receive that spectral signature back up into the cell phone. It'll detect and decode the tags and then record that digital instance. So it's a normal cell phone like anyone would have in their pocket. There's no additional hardware required or anything. It's just an application that you download with that particular sensing technology in it. Right, so these are just a visual of these tablets, so you can see them. I'm going to open up the TruTag app here, and I'm going to move it across, and you can see instantaneously you get the digital interaction, that digital confirmation. You can see one set of these tablets has been spectrally encoded to be for a Chinese market, and then I'll move it over to the other ones. And see,
Barry?
Yes.
I'm sorry, we can't see it on the screen. I'm sorry. We still see your presentation, but we don't see the the demo. Sorry. I apologize.
Okay. Hold on. Apologies about that. Okay. Can you see it now? Can you see my cell phone now?
Yeah, it looks like we can see it now. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. So I'll go back and just show you very briefly. So two sets of tablets here, standard tablets. You won't be able to see any difference in them. But when I go to the application, turn on the application, you'll see that I pass it over and you get instant interaction with the spectral signatures. These ones have been coded for China. I'll show you again, just briefly there. You can actually see them, particles luminescing. And then when I move across to the other group, you can see the United States bill. Now, the really cool part about this is, so that's the interaction between the targets, which are these particles, and the digital sensor. The really cool part about this is then what happens on the digital backend. So you can see here, hopefully, Jerry, everybody can still see my screen, and hopefully we'll be seeing a map of the United States. Just confirm that.
Yeah, Barry, we can see the map. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And what you can see here is actually, this is where I am today in Allentown in Pennsylvania. And if I zoom in on this, you can actually see these are the instances where I've had these digital interactions with these tablets, and you're able to go down all the way down to essentially to a sort of a house level, if you wish, to be able to determine where these events are taking place. And you can see up here on the right-hand side the mark of the time and date stamp with this. Now, all of this information would be collected with the permission of the patient. You don't have to collect any information like this if you don't want to, but being able to collect all of the metadata about the specific digital interaction, it's all possible if that's something that you wish to do as a provider of a smart medicine solution and the patients are comfortable with, and it's all done within the appropriate framework from a HIPAA perspective. So that is a quick overview of the smart medicine solution. Hopefully your brains are ticking in terms of how this technology might be applied. Very briefly, to just sort of to talk through some of the value propositions of this. With that, as I mentioned in the introduction, with the smart medicine solution, every dose becomes a data point. And you are then able to use that particular data in very disparate parts of the pharmaceutical value chain, whether that is in clinical trials, whether it's in a commercial environment, or just to safeguard patients and the supply chain and from a distribution perspective. So there's some of the key areas, and in the conversation with Tim and Jackie, we'll drill down to some of those areas. From a clinical perspective, you can imagine, today clinical trials, as you know, are incredibly difficult to run, and with the decentralization of trials and the trends towards decentralization, there are some challenges coming with those, and those challenges are things in and around ensuring that the patient is taking their medication, and also that the right patient is taking the right medication. And that is hard enough in a centralized environment. When you're in a decentralized environment, it's much more difficult. So some of the potential opportunities for smart medicine here would be doing things like providing real-time information on whether a patient is engaging with their medication. So you don't have to wait for 5 months, 6 months to understand whether a patient is taking those medications. You'll be able to look at those and then link that interaction with medication to clinical endpoints. So that's one potential opportunity, and we can explore that a little bit later. And then the second then is from a trial integrity perspective. You can imagine in a blinded environment, the potential for administration error is very high. Thousands of patients, tens of sites. This technology, the smart medicine solutions in general, give the ability to make sure that that right patient is getting the right product at the right time, and all of that would add to sort of the integrity of these trials. From a commercial perspective, in and along the lines of keeping patients adherent in a clinical trial, is helping patients engage with patients and helping patients be adherent in a post-launch. So medical non-adherence, as I'm sure everybody knows, is a very large problem within the pharmaceutical space today. On average, about 50% of people stick to their prescription as advised by their doctors or their healthcare provider. And the challenge with that is that, with that leads to a significant cost and a significant burden to the healthcare system when patients aren't compliant. There's no silver bullet in terms of being able to keep patients compliant. Fully aware of that. There's a lot of solutions out there today, and our view of this is that smart medicine solutions can be a system to you can add it in. You can form a digital companion that goes along with the medicine. It can be as a system for monitoring that adherence, but more importantly, engaging, educating, and supporting patients. Helping patients manage a patient through adverse events, tailoring custom messages to patients when you know that those AEs might be happening. So using the smart medicine solution as part of an overall customized approach to keeping a patient adherent. And then I'm conscious of the time here, so I'm going to fly through this last one, and then we can have a conversation with the other panelists. But the last one is really about safeguarding the supply chain. So illegitimate and unauthorized production of pharmaceuticals is a huge problem today, not just in second and third world countries, but in today in the US. We massive challenge last year with HIV drugs in the legitimate supply chain, in legitimate packaging, that there were counterfeit HIV medications, and this is a serious challenge for patients. And the technology exists today to economically tag every tablet in the world and give patients the ability to authenticate those medications in their home before they take them, and ensure that those medications are the right ones that they're meant to be having. The technology exists today. So safeguarding that supply chain, involving patients in that authentication processes exists today, and then using these smart medicine solutions even to reduce medication errors some of the way. So I'll hand it back over to you, Stan. I've said a lot there.
No, that's really fantastic and greatly appreciated, Barry. Really the thoughtful and detailed demonstration about the amazing technologies you guys have put together, and you're spot on. It's all about the integrity of the clinical trial, and I think now with the advent of so many really good technologies coming out and being integrated into the platform, really the predominant platform, Medidata, that's out there. There's new integrity in trials that we haven't seen before. And so first, I know that we want, Jerry and his team want to launch a poll right off the bat here. So if the audience could please, front and center, if everyone could take a look at the screen and answer the following question. I am most interested in these attributes of TruTag's smart medicine solution, and you're allowed one choice. This isn't like an American election where you can vote as many times as you like. This is actually only one vote at a time. And so if you're a politician or like that and you want to register in 3 states to vote 3 times, sorry, you can't do that here. We have election integrity here at HITLAB. So bottom line is that we are getting some votes in, and it's a horse race, it looks like, between track adherence over time and acquire robust data. And it is coming down to the wire. We've got a few seconds left, so folks that are going to vote, please do vote. This is really interesting. I would have maybe thought something else, but no, here we go. We've got an underdog coming. Authenticate is coming up from the tail here. 9 votes for Authenticate at 19%. And so it's coming in, maybe going for the silver medal. Track adherence over time is still the gold medal favorite with 26% of the votes. And then we've got 19% of the votes at Authenticate, the drug and the dose, and 17% of the votes at acquire robust data, things like location time, et cetera. So Barry, any comment on these incredible results that we're seeing in real time here?
Yeah, I think being able to track the adherence over time is something that's very important, both in clinical and commercial environments. And I think particularly it would be great to hear Jackie's thoughts on that as well. I know Jackie's an expert in that space.
Yeah, Jackie, what do you say?
Yeah, well, I think when you talk about the 26%, you can actually roll a few of those categories into it. So when you talk about tracking over time, I think, well, that's a little bit of adherence. That's also compliance. It's also, so I would have gone with that one because I could bucket the most information about the actual customers or patient's behavior. And I think that's what we're looking for. I do agree. It's really an interesting idea, a very good idea for how we look at compliance. I'm talking about regulation compliance and how we track the actual drug. But the patient's behavior, especially in decentralized trials, is so important. And this will allow us to know more than we know today. It will allow the healthcare provider to contact the patient when they're seeing that compliance not there. Or, I mean, if you think about risk-based monitoring, this will be a dimension to risk-based monitoring that will ensure we have the correct data so much earlier in the process. That's where it gets interesting to me. It'll let the healthcare provider reach out, provide a connection when we know that medicine, we don't know if it's in the stomach, but we sure know it's faster than arriving at or further than arriving at their house. So I think it's a tremendous step forward in decentralized trials that also is furthering our answer in diversity in clinical trials. You just build this nice set of layers of positivity with this solution.
Yeah, agreed. And would love to hear as well from Tim. Tim, if you could chime in, what are some of your perspectives on this important topic?
I mean, digital medicine to me has been a growing facet area. I can bounce through different therapeutic areas talking, as a clinical pharmacist and as a professor, but, I look at how we're going for devices have kind of been easier to go for connected. Even if you look at the recent American Diabetes Association, they're kind of like pushing for smart insulin pens. We're seeing for connected auto injectors and such. So what been the biggest issue is trying to get down to the oral space at the end of the day. So digital medicines, as we whole, we see like a connected space where people collect data and use that data meaningfully to then help us either for clinical research, for patient care, and guiding for that. I think having these options is very key. What sets me apart is also just determining what is the right medication, what is the right dose. And I think this is where we see value. And the value that will be different across different people. I mean, clinicians will look at it one way, patients will look at it another way, payers will also look at it a different way. And I think that's going to be a key thing is at the end of the day, setting a value proposition in terms of what is needed at this time. As we're seeing a big movement towards what I would say from a pharmacy perspective, a lot of virtual care and remote delivering, and even our traditional drug supply chain being kind of different, I think understanding, or am I getting the right thing at the right time is going to become a question with people. Because we see in the media, there's big questions about, divergency. That is a big issue. So I think as clinicians, researchers, and patients want to actually have a double check, these digital medicines will become into fruition, whether it's through the drug supply chain, whether it's for different reasons, but that's something that I'm seeing being talked about is extremely high in the medical community.
Yeah, that's really solid insight there. And when we're looking at these sorts of things, and I know we've got to wrap up in a little bit here, but we're looking at a maybe last question, Barry, back to you on this, or I think you touched on the need for these kinds of smart solutions to integrate into existing platforms. What are some of the elements of this that you are, when you're deploying these, that you are seeing are really best of class to make sure that the integration works smoothly?
Yeah, so I think one is cost. They've got to be economic, so you can put it on every tablet. There's been some solutions that have failed because of that. Second is regulatory. It's got to be really easy to adopt. Pharmaceutical companies spend a lot of time to bring a product to market, and you can't impact on the clinical efficacy of that product in any way. From an operational perspective, it's got to be easy to apply onto a medicine as well. And then from a patient perspective, it's got to be a tool that you can easily engage with the medication with, like a cell phone. Can't be a widget, because if you have to have a widget, it's another thing you have to carry around. It's going to be something that's ubiquitous. And I think that's very much, and lastly, this is not, these smart medicine solutions have to integrate into existing systems. There are systems that do a great job at already doing what they do. It's not going to replace those. It's something that will integrate into those systems. And I think that's key as well.
That's great. And thank you all for joining today. Just a tremendous panel, lots to learn and lots to still accomplish. We understand now that, the creating ethical clinical trials and having high integrity data really are critical. And if we don't know if patients are using the medicines, then it really is not a clinical trial that is efficacious in that sense, because we don't really know what's happening there. So well done, both of you, all of you, all three of you. Greatly appreciate your time today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.
Wonderful. And just an incredible panel. And a great question that came in from A. Smith. I don't know if it's Alfred or Anna or Antonio or some other Smith, but A. Smith has a great question around just and more of a comment. But yeah, of course, I think that we need to be very clear that this data, and again, I've worked with metadata really since Glenn founded it in 1998 at Columbia. And TruTags, of course, is an extraordinary ethical company. But yeah, the data is not monetized by these companies with, and patient data, which is heavily scrutinized by a number of different private not-for-profit groups that are run by citizens that are overseeing this, but also has substantial regulatory oversight with folks like the Office of Civil Liberties and the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., as well as the Food and Drug Administration, and a number of other groups, CMS, HHS, CMS being Center for Medicare Services and Health and Human Services, and every state attorney general's office. They look very carefully at how data is utilized in these studies. And again, great question about whether it's monetized. Short answer is no. We can certainly dive into that more in our May symposium. But for now, we have Dr. Sachin Shah, who we are looking forward to hearing from and talking to about data science. But at first, before we do that, Jerry's reminding us we have a very important book giveaway, and we want you to put in the chat box your answer to the following question. The US per capita healthcare spending nearly blanked from 1980 to 2018. And that would be, of course, over roughly a 40-year period, quintupled, quadrupled, tripled, or doubled, I think that is, or dupled. That might be a British term that Jerry's throwing in there, dupled. But anyway, the idea is, what is the answer there? And the answer is, from the next slide, is quadrupled. There we go. And as you can see, there's already hundreds of people launching in their answers into the chat box on what is the right answer. And it looks like Catherine was the correct respondent to that first. Oh, no, wait a minute. Sorry, false. Anyway, we'll get to you on the correct answer. It looks like it was Pratib or Prabhi or something like that. So I think we've got our winner. Well done. And again, follow up with our host, Jerry Antomato, with more information around that.